What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to The Fringe. Today, I have a story for you about corruption, and no, it's not Justin Trudeau, but it is one of his Liberal members in Parliament, and boy, does the well go deep. And of course, this is reminiscent of something similar to me as GC Strategies or Dalian when it comes to Arrive scam. It's going to be another vastly heated debate between committees and fact-finding committees to find out just what has happened, but up to $110 million being awarded not just to companies underneath Liberal MPs' belts, but also Justin Trudeau's ministers. And we're going to get into that. But before we do, I want to give a shout out real quick to, well, a sponsor that's, well, my own. And it's one that I guess I wanted to put forward to you guys before we get into today's story, because the F Wacko shirts and products, as well as Wacko T-shirts, Obama-style poster, are available in our shop. Now, the reason I wanted to mention these, ladies and gentlemen, they are on sale for about the next 24 hours since they've launched, and this is your time to save some money and grab those, but also because often when I do Trudeau-style merchandise in this shop, people report it. They say that it's offensive. They say that it's a violation of Justin Trudeau's I guess, persona or personal image. So these shirts and these items usually get pulled from the store. So if you want to get these and save yourself some money, now is the time. And it's also worth doing to save yourself a little bit of cash before they're pulled as well. But let's get on to today's story. Randy Boissonnault, or Boissonnault, I guess, Edmonton MP, held one of two Liberals in the entire province to hold a federal position who, I guess, stood on multiple companies. He started this Xenex Venture Catalysts, where he was, I guess, doing contracts for Edmonton International Airport. Now, at the time when he was originally a minister up until 2019, Randy was running this corporation where, as he became a minister, he handed off controlling interest to Kirsten Poon. Again, out of ethics rules, he had to make sure he had nothing to do with the company. But what this news article shows from this, I guess you could say, point-by-point graph is that Xenex Venture Capitalist then went over to Kirsten Poon, who then lobbied with Transport Canada. She had no experience prior to taking this job. I think it's important we point that out. But of course, she was doing the transaction for Edmonton International Airport and through Finance Canada. Contracts were awarded and then forwarded again to Randy Boissonnault, who has a 50% stakeholding in this company, even though he's claimed he ceases all work, I guess, or all knowledge of what's going on with that company. But what's most important here when it comes to the money that came funded out from Edmonton International Airport, it went to his second company, Navis Group, which he founded, I believe it was 2019. He founded Navis Group. And of course, it wasn't filed under Navis Group, but the reason that this has come to pass is because it's also listed under this 2050877 Alberta Limited Corporation. Now, the reason that they filed under that number for an Alberta Limited Corporation is because Navis Group wouldn't come up unless somebody was doing an audit or inquiring into what is going on with that company. And of course, the reason they wanted to hide that name is because, well, if you look here on this chart, it all goes back to Randy and lines his pockets. Now, this guy's smug. We've seen him debating that parents don't have any rights, that he believes that we should all just shut up and pay our taxes and allow the government to move us to get out of the way, as Justin Trudeau says. But I guess the big concern is what he's done with his second company, as this article from Global News is showing. Federal Cabinet Minister Randy Boissonnault linked to PPE company embroiled in lawsuits. This is a big problem I have. When you talk about Justin Trudeau's net worth, I've always mentioned multiple times on this channel how when he took office as Prime Minister of Canada, his net worth was sitting somewhere, I believe, around $9 million. Now, there's rumor people have said over 300 million in some videos. I've been told it's somewhere north of $110 million. But nonetheless, Justin Trudeau, during the pandemic, it's of no surprise or consequence to anybody, has enriched his retirement, we'll say, off the backs of the pandemic. Of course, Randy Boissonnault, now another liberal MP who was linked to a PPE company that he put in place magically while we were all locked down in our homes. This is where they say people are conspiracy theorists, but I challenge to ask the question, does it not become more and more apparent to question why we were locked in our homes, why we were told we couldn't go out, why we were told we couldn't go anywhere. Doug Ford was linked to a sticker and banner printing company that provided retail outlets with all of their floor decals and vinyls to tell people to stand 6 feet apart, where to go, what to do. The problem here is that politicians are public servants when they get elected. They should not be allowed to run these companies, to have anything to do with these companies. And if they are found to have anything to do with these companies, as we're going to see in these 2 future video clips, it should be jailed. This is fraud. This is deception. This is illegal. It's against ethics. Let's just highlight a little bit of this article, and then I'm going to get into the video clips. Federal minister remained listed as director of a medical supply company for more than a year while it was competing for provincial and municipal contracts, according to business registry documents obtained by Global News. Global Health Imports, a company with the employment minister Randy Boissonnault co-founded after he lost the 2019 election, outbid multinational companies on pandemic contracts for items such as disinfectant wipes and isolation gowns. Again, I did some research. I couldn't find anything else that they were linked to in terms of PPE or pandemic-related materials. But again, it makes you wonder why this was done. Federal conflict of interest laws prohibit cabinet ministers from serving as directors of companies. Now, of course, he still had a 50% stake, which we are going to see. There's Michael Barrett in there, but I want to show what goes on with Michael Cooper, Conservative MP, first, because it's very important to notice here that they throw around the word honorable, that you have to start referring to members of the House as honorable. I wish they would stop doing that, because it's clear at this point there's nothing honorable about anybody sitting on the Liberal side or the NDP side of the House of Commons. Such could be said about certain Conservative MPs as well. I'm not going to say that they're all pure and they're of no consequence, but what's really funny in here is that Randy doesn't even defend himself. He's spoken up for by other Liberal members, and Michael is told to watch his mouth. Let's go on.
Speaker, the sole Liberal minister from Alberta is at the centre of 2 corruption scandals. It has been reported that the minister is tied to a lobbyist who received a staggering $110 million in federal contracts, and the minister is the director of a company that received a further $8 million of government contracts and is engulfed in allegations of fraud and wire fraud. So how much money did this minister and his companies receive from these shady contracts?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, as I said earlier in response to our other honourable friend, the minister has always followed the strict ethics rules that apply to him as an elected official. Canada has one of the strictest ethics regimes in the world for elected officials, and that is exactly what Canadians expect. The minister has always conducted himself in an ethical manner that follows the spirit and letter of those rules.
That's right.
The honourable member from St. Albert, Edmonton.
Speaker, the minister has been on the take with taxpayers' money. The minister retains a 50% stake in a company that is engulfed in allegations of fraud, and the minister continues to receive payments from the lobbying firm that received $110 million in federal contracts. So will the minister finally have the guts to stand in his place and tell Canadians how much he pocketed off taxpayers?
I will come back to this matter later, but I do warn members, please, to be very careful about what they say about other honourable members. The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, in this House, all members are entitled to be treated by other members with a presumption of being honourable. That is not what this member has just done. I would invite him to carefully consider the words that he just employed while doing a speech into a television camera, one that he would never do were we outside this chamber. And I would invite that member to be very, very careful with his words in the future.
Very careful with words in the future when, again, we're talking about a party that has shown for the last 8 years how corrupt it is, how much money it's siphoned out of Canadians' pockets, and their endless attempt to destroy this country. course, Michael Barrett, genius MP, lays it all out for us exactly as to where the scandal's going. And then we're going to get into what's going to come from this, or where I think this is going to go at least. Let's take a listen to what Michael Barrett has to say.
So this week, Chair, Global News revealed two investigative pieces that they've been working on. The first is one that I mentioned yesterday. That's that a series of meetings between lobbyist Kirsten Poon and high-level political staff across multiple federal departments aimed those meetings at securing $110 million in federal grants for the Edmonton International Airport. Now, these efforts occurred between 2021 and 2022 and involved Poon's connection to Justin Trudeau's cabinet minister, Randy Boissonnault, who represents Edmonton Centre. Now, Mr. Boissonnault, in transitioning from his consulting business to his ministerial role, delegated control of his business to Poon, who resumed his lobbying activities. Now, Mr. Boissonnault gave his former business partner his only client, which is the Edmonton Regional Airport Authority. The minister's influence, of course, is attached to that transfer. So this firm lobbied the Edmonton Airport Authority, an organization regulated by the government on federal government land with board members appointed by the government, the same government that Mr. Boissonnault is now a member of. And Mr. Boissonnault was collecting payments from the company that was lobbying his government. So this, of course, raises incredible both concerns with respect to the Lobbying Act, but also the Conflict of Interest Act and the Conflict of Interest Code for members. But now there's a second report from Global News that revealed that Justin Trudeau's cabinet minister, Randy Boissonnault, remained listed as a director of Global Health Imports Corporation, GHI, for over a year after his 2021 election. Now, Minister Boissonnault has claimed that he has no involvement with GHI since his election, but the company co-founded by Mr. Boissonnault in 2019 after his electoral defeat secured contracts totaling $8.2 million from other levels of government, provincial and municipal governments, for pandemic supplies. Now imagine the advantage of competing for government contracts against a company that had a member of Justin Trudeau's federal cabinet listed as one of the directors. And that's why such a scenario is in fact prohibited by law. Now, I would be remiss not to mention that GHI faced multiple lawsuits for unpaid bills, unfulfilled deliveries, resulting in default judgments totaling over $7.8 million. Allegations of fraud, wire fraud, were made against Mr. Boissonnault's GHI co-founder, Stephen Anderson, in one of the lawsuits. And despite winning lawsuits, suppliers struggled to recoup owed funds from Minister Boissonnault's company that he was still listed as a director for, GHL, raising questions about the legitimacy of its operation and the fairness of its bidding process. Chair, the motion is that pursuant to Standing Order 1083H and in light of new media reports, the committee undertake an immediate study into Minister Randy Boissonnault's allegations of fraud and contraventions of ethics and lobbying laws, that the committee invite Minister Randy Boissonnault, Kirsten Poon, Stephen Anderson of Global Health Imports, and the Ethics Commissioner to testify individually in addition to any other relevant witnesses, and that the committee report its findings to the House.
Okay, so what we're essentially going to see here is a committee go into place to investigate what was going on with Boissonnault when he took office, why he didn't dissolve his position with his company, where he still holds a 50% stake, in which he's very well compensated in terms of government contracts. Again, very shady business. My guess, and again, I remember back to not too long ago when we had Garnet Jennis here on the channel to talk about the ongoing Arrive scam investigations and why we're wasting taxpayer dollars to do those investigations if we're not going to see criminal charges. However, I think with a committee like this, what we're going to see at the very least at this point, if Randy is guilty of violating ethics laws, he's not Justin Trudeau, I think at some point we'll see him step down in the future, I think that he will have to leave his chair. Again, if it starts to really pull down on the Liberals, we've seen this with Trudeau's finance minister at the beginning of his riding, or the beginning of his tenure. We've seen it with multiple MPs that as soon as scandals come out with them, they nearly don't stand the test of time like Justin Trudeau does. They simply resign, they step down, they move away, and on they go on their merry little way. Now, what happens in terms of charges? That I can't be sure of. Again, these are MPs that are very well connected, have very powerful lawyers, so I don't know if I see any charges coming forward, but let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Are you shocked? I'm certainly not. But does it surprise you to see this kind of money coming out from Canadian taxpayers again? The level of webs of corruption that go on through contracts and through contracting scandals? Give me your comments down below. Don't forget to go pick up your wacko merchandise in our shop before it is gone, ladies and gentlemen, or especially at least while it's on sale. Get it while it's hot, and hope you have a great rest of your day and enjoyed this video. I'll catch you on the next one.